Hello. So, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while because I think it was in November I did a video where I talked about how people tend to brush off criticism, which I think is a big problem in the entertainment industry because, it's like people think that just because they like something, it should be immune to criticism. Like, I mean, there's stuff that I like that, maybe got like a game that I like that got like mixed reviews, and then it's like, uh, people criticize it. I'm like, well, you have every right to, but then it's like, you have these people who are like fanatics of something, whether they like whether it's a game or a TV show or a musician, a celebrity, a content creator, whatever, and they think that like, if somebody is like dissatisfied with this um person or product or whatever, and then they criticize it, and people will these fanatics will just brush it off like, you're just being a hater or something. It's like, that's not. But like I said, I talked about that more in that other video. Um, but let's go on like the flip side, so to speak, where people who like basically look down on someone because of their hobby, like, or their interest, which, because it's, I guess, kind of a gray area or something, but it's something that I feel like happens like all the time, and it's something I thought, I figured I might as well address it since lots of people do. But, and it doesn't even matter like what the hobby is. It's like literally, I think it's like any and every hobby gets kind of looked down upon. Obviously, like gaming is the biggest one, like that. But people are like, oh well, why do you play video games? That's for like, what are you, like 12? And it's like, why do you care? yeah. And what's funny, I mean, it doesn't even matter. It's not even just gaming. It could be any hobby, like whether people like video games or like doing jigsaw puzzles, or they like music or sports or comic books, whatever the case may be. And people will like look down upon them like, oh, your hobby sucks, mine's way better. And it's just like, what? But what's also kind of funny is that I feel like a lot of times these people who like look down upon other hobbies, or people like, they look down upon people because of what they do as a hobby or in their spare time, then it's like, again, it's like that question, like, why do you care? It's like, is it affecting your life in any way? But, and what's the other thing that, like I said, is kind of funny is that it's like, a lot of times these people don't have hobbies, so it's like, they just sit in front of the TV all day, which I'll admit I've done that before, like, but I can never do that on a daily basis. I'd go out of my mind. But I remember it was last summer, actually. I had a vacation from work, and so I decided to take a day to just binge watch a bunch of my favorite 90s movies. I picked out 5 of them. It was it took like the whole day to go through them, basically. Well, most of the day anyway. But it was the first Ninja Turtles movie, then Wayne's World, Aladdin, the animated Disney one from '92. I think it was '92, right? Well, then first Mortal Kombat movie, and finally The Fifth Element. And it was kind of, so I just like binge watched all 5 movies, and then like, just kind of tuned everything else out, like, other than obviously eating and going to the bathroom and stuff. But I just kind of tuned out the rest of the world, and it was kind of cool. Like, it almost felt like I was back in the '90s, and it was. But my point is, it's like, although that was like a neat little experience for myself, it's not something I would do on a daily basis, because for one thing, obviously, it's unhealthy for a number of reasons. But also, it's just like I said, I'd just go out of my mind if I did that like every day. That's why I have multiple hobbies. But what's funny, like, getting back to the point of like people who it's like just sit in front of TV and stuff, and it's like if somebody, like, depending on their hobby, like if they beat like a hard video game, or they hit a home run in baseball, or they came up with a new song, or they just finished like a big long graphic novel comic or something, or they completed a jigsaw puzzle, which I'm going to talk about that in a second. It's like, that's still like an accomplishment for this person. It's something that they are proud of, something they accomplished. Whereas people are like, oh, why do you do that? Why do you want to do that for a hobby? Well, it's like, this person just accomplished something. You're just sitting in front of the TV watching like news and reality shows, which I never really cared about any of those things. There are a couple of reality shows that I like if some of them I can find kind of interesting, like Face Off. That show was kind of cool because it's like, yeah, there's drama in it, but that wasn't like the main draw of the show. But then there was other ones like, I think it was American Restoration, where like they, take like an old Coca-Cola machine from the 50s and like fix it up and it would look like it was brand new. Like, see, something like that. Like, that's interesting. But anything else, like, Kardashians, like Jersey Shore, that kind of stuff, I'm like, but, nothing against the people who like them. If you like that stuff, that's fine. Unless that's the only thing you do, and then you don't like talk down to other people for actually having hobbies. But go back to the jigsaw puzzle thing, because it's like, some people might look down on that. It's like, what's the point? You spend hours upon hours putting it all together, and then you just admire it for a few minutes, and then put it back in the box, and it's like, what's your point? But, but again, I know I sound like a broken record, but it's like, why do you care? Why does it matter to you what other people do in their free time? If whatever these cases may be, if you like, because God, I remember going back down, going back and forth here, but I remember, I think I was in 5th grade. My mom had one of those like big 1,000 piece jigsaw puzzles on the dining room table. I came home from school one day, and I was like, I'm just gonna work on it for like 5 minutes or something. I was there for like an hour and a half because I just got sucked in. But so like I enjoy the occasional puzzles and stuff, and it's like, sports. Never really been a fan. Like, the only one I kind of like is wrestling. I watched... To be honest, I stopped watching WWE a couple of years ago, and again, if people still like that show, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to judge them for it. People like whatever the hell they want. Watch whatever the hell they want. I watch a lot of the more, like, indie stuff. I still watch Impact, which used to be called TNA years ago. They're a shell of what they once were, but... there's still a few wrestlers there that I like, so I was like, I still like watching them. And I watch AEW, which, that company started up a couple of years ago, and they're not exactly kings either, so to speak. Like, I remember, for one example, the women's division, like, from the beginning to about 9 months ago, the women's division was just a complete mess. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just a mess. Like, it was all over the place. The talent was... they kept trying to push Cody's wife, Brandy, who just has, like, no in-ring charisma. Like, I don't know. It's, like I said, it's gotten better, but it still needs work. Another thing, sometimes, like, the timing of the moves can be off. Like, a pretty good example last week on their, because, like, that's another thing, even their weekly show, Wednesday Night Dynamite, that can be, like, hit or miss. Sometimes it's really good, other times it's, And, it's like sometimes, but getting back to the point, like, this past week, or last week, it was a tag team match, the Young Bucks versus Eddie Kingston and Penta, and Kingston was on the entrance ramp. It was, like, one of those ones that's, like, a pathway that connects to the ring. He was standing on that, and then one of the Bucks, their brothers, Matt and Nick Jackson, I forget which one of them it was, but one of them was, climbed the turnbuckle and did a crossbody onto Kingston. And you figure between, like, climbing the turnbuckle and then doing the move, let's say that whole thing took him about 5 seconds, and that whole 5 seconds that it took him to do that, Kingston was just standing there like this. Like, so, like, that's another thing that, AEW needs to work on. And, again, like, if people don't, just like if people like WWE, if people dislike AEW, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to like everything, down the road I might give WWE another chance, but, we'll see what happens. It was mainly just, for me personally, I didn't really like the direction they were going, like, the whole PG rating thing was just like, and then there was some of the new talent, I was just, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it with these guys. I don't know, like, again, doesn't matter, if other people like them, that's fine. And I actually have a lot of great memories watching wrestling from over the years. Maybe I'll make a video, I should make a video on that in the future because I have a lot of funny stories. Um, if anybody would be interested in seeing that or hearing about them, can't just push the door open. Um, but yeah, and then the other thing is, what was I gonna say? Yes. Oh yeah, another reason people do hobbies is because it's like an escape. Like there were times I remember I was just like in such a foul mood, like a really, like I was upset about something or I was having a bad day or whatever, and I would play what the hell was that game called? One of the Destroy All Humans games on the original Xbox, and I would just be like floating around, like I remember just like floating around and like just killing people with like all the different weapons and like destroying what the hell do you call them, vehicles and like blowing up buildings and everything, and it felt really good. I mean, I would never do something like that in real life. I know the difference between fiction and reality, but it was just like it was like an escape, and it just felt good to like it helped me like suppress my anger, so to speak, or whatever. Like again, I wouldn't do that in real life, because I know there's a difference between fiction and reality, and I know right from wrong. Another good example. This one's a little more lighthearted. I remember when I was in high school. And I like kind of struggled here and there. It was like kind of ups and downs going through school, and there were days, if I just had like a bad day at school, and I would come home and hook up my PS1 and play like a JRPG like Legend of Dragoon or Suikoden 2, and it just would melt away into the game, and like everything that had happened that day, that everything that the bad day I had, I just completely forgot about it, and and like I said, but that's another reason why people do hobbies. So the point being is, don't let people judge you based on your hobby. Don't let them like talk down to you because they feel like your hobby is a waste of time. You're not being productive when maybe they're not being productive either. So whatever it is that you like to do for a hobby or hobbies, just continue to do so. Don't let anyone judge you or talk down to you on it. So until next time, thanks for watching.